Hello, how you doing? I'm Craig Parkinson. You are listening to the Two Shot Podcast. Sit yourself down, pop the kettle on. We're going to have a nice old chat. Who's it with this week? I'm going to tell you right now. How the devil are you? Myself and Griff are just sat by a canal in Ancoats in Manchester recording this intro for today's episode. It's episode 89. I was right. Sometimes I lose track. You know, look, here we are. We've got 11 more episodes and it's episode 100. What are we going to do for episode... We've got to do something special for episode 100, surely. But look, let's have a think on that and we'll sort something out. First off, a massive thank you for listening to last week's episode with the majestic Jonas policewoman. And also, what I'm really chuffed about, not just for listening, but for all those people who didn't know Joan's work, and then they were messaging us, going, right, I'm going to go and listen to all her stuff now, and you're loving it. So, yeah, great success, eh? So a massive thank you to Joan for the sit down before a gig, which again, she's on tour at the moment. I think she was in Cork the other day, so if you're in Ireland, catch her. You won't be disappointed. Speaking of not being disappointed, I really hope you're not disappointed this week. I don't think you will be. It's the fantastic Julie Hesmondhalgh. Julie, we've been trying to, as you'll hear, we've been trying to sort this out for ages. And myself and Griff were doing a few days recording in London, and she was there for 2 days. And she was on Lorraine Kelly, and then she came over and see me. So it was fantastic, and she's an absolute force. She's just brilliant. She's everything what you kind of wish and hope she should be from reading about her and seeing her work and seeing her interviews. This is episode 89 with the brilliant Julie Hesmondhalgh. Enjoy, and I shall see you at the end. Can you believe...
distraction.
Exactly, well, distraction. I think we all need distraction.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Oh, bless you. I was looking the other day, and it's nearly a year since we first met in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
For that brief moment.
Yeah, outside that pub we've been.
Outside that pub, and I think that was that your opening night of your one-woman show?
I think...
Or do you...
Well, it will, yeah, because I was just with Kirsch when I
sure,
went with my kids.
No, it was just you two, and then they will come in.
Yeah, that's right,
I think it was, and you were like, why did you do that?
Yeah, why did I do that?
I was going, that is the most terrifying thing.
Yeah.
And had you done it before?
I'd done it in Manchester. I did it for a week in Manchester. I did it like at the Royal Exchange Studio as a bit of a tryout. Right.
With the intention of taking it up there?
Yeah. Well, the intention always was. So I said to Kirsch, write me a one-woman play that we can tour for the rest of our lives. So don't make it age specific.
So it was your idea?
It's my idea.
Wow.
Yeah. I said write it and make it really low-key. So portable. And we can just go all over the world with it, and it'll take us into our old age, And if we get a break for 6 months, we'll just be like, oh, let's go to New York with it or whatever.
The retirement plan, Julie.
Absolutely. So he disappeared one Christmas. I mean, and not to an annoying degree either. Do you know? It weren't like, what are you doing? Get back up here. He just kept just slipping off for half an hour or whatever, and then came back up after Christmas with this play. This beautiful one-woman play that's about love, life, time travel, the golden record on Voyager 1, about, Carl Sagan.
Did he tell you anything about it before?
I didn't even know he was doing it.
Really?
Didn't even know he was doing it. No, he just came up with it, and it's called the greatest play in the history of the world.
This is a brilliant title.
Brilliant title. Yeah, I had to live up to, but yeah, the play explains it. But yeah. So we did it. So we got a producer and did it in Edinburgh, and then we're going to do it in London. Actually, we're going to do it at Trafalgar Studios. In autumn. Yeah, well, over Christmas. No, December. Yeah, it's yet to be. We've not signed on the dotted line yet, but it's looking pretty certain. And it's it's set at Christmas. It's not a Christmas play, but it happens to be set at Christmas.
Well, perfect timing then, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to doing it.
You are looking forward to getting back to doing it.
I'm really looking forward to doing it because I love doing it. The hardest was to do it in Edinburgh.
Why?
Well, just because of that kind of I was at this Travis, so you do different slots. So sometimes you're 10 o'clock in the morning, sometimes you're 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, they've changed it around. I thought you always had like, like with comedians, it's like we're at 3:30 for the month.
No, at Travis, it's always that. All of the, in both studio and main house, you do it in sort of like a cycle.
How did you find that?
Well, I really liked it because it meant I could go and see everything. So I like saw 50 plays while we were there. I just ran from one end of town to all the same plays. Because I love it. I'm a proper theatre guy. That's my happy place. I can see anything all day long. And I pretty much chose brilliantly as well. I only saw I think one that I could say an out and out dud. And that was brilliantly
Did
bad.
you plan it before? Or did you just get word of mouth?
I planned a bit, and then left some slots open and everything. So it was absolutely ace. So there was nothing that I clashed with, But just when I got there, because Mark Thomas were on at Travis at the same time, and he said, "Oh, you'll be really surprised. The morning show is the best show because everyone's fresh and caffeinated and ready.
Yeah.
And the late night one's quite good as well because people are a bit pissed and a bit like...
A bit looser.
Yeah, and a bit happy to be there.
Yeah.
He said that the late afternoon one is the killer. And sure enough, it was like...
Why?
Really hard.
Why?
Just tired. Edinburgh fatigued, not had the tea.
Maybe had a few drinks at lunchtime.
Maybe had one, and so, yeah.
Sunshine,
a lot
draining.
of doses, a lot of, yeah. And it's, for me, that was the hardest thing about it, is that it felt... Well, I was trying to define it when I was doing it. I was like, what is this feeling I've got? And I thought, tell you what it is. It's like almost sociopathic to be telling a story to somebody and looking them in the eye because it's a story show. So you're actually like engaging with the audience. And I use the audience a little bit in it as well. We use the shoes and stuff. It's dead nice. But like talking to them. And when somebody has like clearly doesn't want to be there or is actually falling asleep, like in life, you just go like... Oh, well, how are you? You'd stop, wouldn't you? You'd just stop speaking. Yeah. But there you're just like, do you know what? I can tell that you're really not into this, but I'm going to carry on for another 90 minutes. And I find that really, really hard. I feel like I'm like too socially skilled to do that kind of show and just be like, well, I don't give a shit, so I'm just going to carry on with this, It was just like, oh, I'm really sorry, I'm holding you, And it's just Edinburgh fatigue. When we went back to Manchester, because then I did another stint at Royal Exchange with her, and it was like, oh, God, it's brilliant, because people have come for a night out. It might be the only thing they've seen that month. Yeah. Edinburgh, it could be like one of like 5 things they've seen that day. So
completely different audience, isn't it?
Completely different audience and brilliant. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but it was a challenge for me.
Did you learn loads from it?
Yeah, I feel like I did, and we're doing it so often as well. I don't think I've ever done such a long run or something. Like just me especially, and it was nice, knowing what works and being able to get a bit free with it. I've got to really learn it all again now. It's like
it'll be there.
It'll be
you
somewhere.
Just got to unlock it.
Yeah, it's somewhere in it. Yeah, there's bits of it that are a bit fuzzy, but
were you knackered by the end of the month? Like because you were seeing everything.
No, I don't get knackered.
Don't you?
No.
Why don't you get knackered?
I don't know. I live in terror of it. I live in absolute fear of being tired. Like if I'm going to bed really late and I know I've got an early start, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be tired. And I'm never tired. I mean, I really rarely am tired.
Well, I'd get a bit like, even though, sometimes we know I've got to go to bed because I've got to get up at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I've got to look at what I don't even have a watch. I don't even know why I'm
your
doing
phone.
that.
I know,
but your phone, do you know what I mean?
Great, man.
I'm looking at the clock and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm going, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
But then I go to bed and I'll...
Yeah, and then you just can't sleep. I know, no, that's it. It's like that. The big thing for me is the fear of it. But then I say it all the time to Kirsch, my husband. I'm like, I don't get tired. Why am I so frightened of it? I can pretty much keep running. I don't know what it is.
Even when you've got massive days filming.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes. I have a nana nap sometimes in the afternoon. And I'm like absolutely happy to have a little bit of a
power nap. A good 20 minutes.
Yeah, especially after pudding. Like if you're doing
Christmas Day snooze, Julie.
Oh, I can't do it now. It's like and catering trucks. It's like, yeah, this is how hard it is. It's blood, sweat, and tears, isn't it? Catering trucks. It's like I can't have pudding. It's like Mogadon. It's like literally as I'm eating it, I'm falling asleep. But it's not tiredness. It's like it's carbicide. It's just like I can't do this. I'm like, it's like, so if I need a nap in the afternoon, just have like some apple crumble and custard. That's it. That's me done.
Away you go.
Yeah.
Have you always been like that with your energy and?
Yeah, I think so. But I think I've got better as I've got older. I think the younger people just get tired more, don't they? It's like. So it's people in their teens and 20s and they're constantly exhausted and you're just like, God's sake.
Moaning.
Doing what? What are you knackered with?
What are you tired for?
I were up at 6 with like a morning kid.
You mean you want
saying they were
5
too
more
tired
minutes?
to go to school. It's like, all day long I'm dealing with tired people. It's like, how are you? Oh, I'm tired. Oh, it's just like so boring. I always tell this story when I was at Lambda. I had this really inspirational, amazing teacher, Brian Asprey, who comes here to Maison Bertaux loads, actually. Tony thought I was meeting him here. And he set up in the 70s with his wife, Yvonne Bryceland, who was an amazing actor, and Athol Fugard, the playwright. They set up the first multiracial theatre company in South Africa called The Space in Cape Town. It's not quite as well known as the Market, but it was the one. And they put on all Athol Fugard's first plays and stuff that, eventually transferred to the National and, made him a massive name internationally. And when they set up that theatre company, it was completely illegal because they were using black and white actors. And the black actors would come from their incredibly grueling jobs as cleaners for rich white people or gardeners for rich white people, and they'd do a day's work after having travelled from the townships into Cape Town. Then they'd go to the theatre and then they'd rehearse a play into the hours of morning because that's the only time they were available to do that.
Yeah.
And if they were raided by the police, which they were on a regular basis because black and white people weren't allowed to work together, they placed brooms strategically around the rehearsal space. So if the police came in, they'd just pretend to be cleaning. They're like, "Oh, no, we're just cleaners. No, nothing to see here. Nothing to see. It's all white plane." It's like, yeah. And I always say, it's like, yeah, they were probably quite tired. And I bet they didn't moan about it nearly as much as half of the actors I know now, just like, who've been like picked up in a car from their lovely hotel room to go to like, it's just like, it's a bit, I think it's a bit of a plague, in profession.
And sitting down and then being fed.
Yeah.
Sitting down again. Opening your gob, sitting down again.
Yeah. But you don't have to learn my lines for today's. Yeah. So I always have them. I always have those like black South African actors in my head whenever anyone's kind of like giving me some of that.
I think we should.
Yeah, a little bit of perspective. Not a bad thing sometimes, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's like, yeah.
Julie, can we talk about growing up?
Yeah.
Where were we?
So I grew up in Church, which is a little bit of Accrington. Famous for Accrington Stanley, obviously, the football team that is no longer a joke, doing very well now. And
There'll be some people who won't remember that reference.
Yeah, it was an advert. Yeah. It's like mostly what people remember. There's the Accrington Pals, which of course is a beautiful play based on real events. Most of the men in the town got wiped out in World War One. They were a battalion who went out, and Accrington Stanley. So there was an advert where
it was milk, wasn't it?
It was a milk advert, and it was like
don't do milk adverts much anymore, do they?
No.
Those days are gone.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah, don't really need much advertising, does it? It's like, maybe again now, though. Everyone's like on the oat milk now, aren't they? It was like, so it was like, if you drink your milk, you'll end up playing for Accrington. If you don't drink your milk, you'll end up playing for Accrington Stanley because they're a bit of a joke. And it was like, who's Accrington Stanley? Exactly. Yeah, so that was the big gag. So I grew up there to John and Maureen, who were just ace, actually. Just brilliant. Just really, really ordinary Accringtonian people, born and bred there. Both worked in offices, both from really working class backgrounds.
Yeah.
And we've done a terraced house. They did a pools round on a Thursday night. Which is like the abiding memory of my life.
What, the pools round?
Because they never ever missed it. So it was like, that was my night to watch Fame, Top of the Pops, and then a disaster movie. There was a disaster movie on Thursday night. So it was always them on like table behind me, sort of counting up money, and they'd let me like play with the spot the balls, just like try and guess them. And I had an older brother, Dave, who was 7 years older than me, and he who's now amazingly a professor of media at Leeds Uni. Wow. So he was the first in our family to go to university. So my dad had this really, really, really hard upbringing where his mum had died when he was born, so he never knew his mum, and he was brought up by his dad and his grandparents, and then his dad remarried. And my dad was really, really bright boy and a really exceptional person, and always was, actually. So even though he came from nothing really, he always had a real love of art and music, and that just came from him. And he passed his 11 plus, but he had a stepbrother who was the same age as him, who didn't pass his 11 plus.
Yeah.
So it was decided that my dad wasn't allowed to go to grammar school. And back then, that just meant the end of your education, really. So he left, I think, at 12 and became a butcher's boy.
Right.
So he was pretty much self-educated after that. I did his national service the year after the war, so I just missed it. But, like, actually really grew a lot in that army experience because there was, like, a music appreciation society, and he was the only private who'd go to it. It was all officers.
Yeah.
But he'd go along because so he could find this love of, like, Chopin and stuff. And so growing up, ours was a really, really ordinary house of football pools and, you know, fireworks in back garden on bonfire night.
The
and
usual.
just like, just the absolute usual, you know. Radio 2 love songs when you're having your dinner on Sunday and all that. And my mum was just like a clerk at a factory, a wallpaper factory down the road. And but our house was full of like books of poetry and classical music, LPs and stuff.
Yeah.
And so my dad always felt like me and Dave had appeared as by magic from nowhere. It was always like it's a big phrase in our house and still. It's like, what have we bred more? What have we bred? And it's like, and I think, well, no, actually, you know, because we were very much kind of like in a quite unusually artistic household.
Yeah.
And for me, having that, so my mum was big into musicals, so we were always like watching Elvis films and musicals and like going to, and my dad had like quite a posh friend from work who lived in Middleton.
Right.
And he'd take us to see like the big shows in Manchester at Royal Exchange and also, you know, my school was great. It was just a comp, but really good teachers who'd take us to theatre in Manchester and stuff. I mean, mum and dad always encouraged that stuff, even though it was a bit outside their own experience, you know. And so,
because they never had that,
yeah,
did they?
oh, absolutely not. That weren't part of their world at all. And my brother, because he was 7 years older than me, was a punk. So I got all this influence.
God, you're getting it from all angles, aren't you?
So lucky. And also like at the dog end of like really good comprehensive education as well, where you had teachers who were like writing like full length school plays about Peterloo massacre in rhyming couplets, you know, and like, you know, stuff that you just wouldn't get now, you know.
Would happen now, would it?
Just amazing. So it was kind of like...
That's not on the curriculum.
No, it really isn't. As we know, you know, it's kind of...
But things like fucking should be, shouldn't they? I mean...
Yeah, completely. Well, that's the way... I mean, I'm like one of the only people in my generation who actually knew about Peterloo, and it was because of that, you know, because Mr. Walmsley at school. And so I was dead lucky to have like a series of teachers who just really encouraged it, you know, and like, and saw us not just as kind of like a bunch of factory fodder or whatever, but as people who could actually, you know, appreciate.
Or
the
you
world
might amount to something.
Yeah.
Instead of, nah, you're right.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
And because Dave was older than me and got a scholarship to go to Oxford, which was like the best thing that ever happened to my dad, because of his thwarted education. Because, I skipped. So when my dad was 16, his dad really had suffered from massive mental health problems, took his own life. So my dad was then thrown out by his stepmom and left to live with aunties who were wonderful. But he had this life that was just kind of, he was a classic person that you think, what could you have been? Do you know, who might you have been? So when my brother went to Oxford, and my brother had like quite a sort of like, I don't know, ambiguous relationship with that as a working class lad going to. So when I got into Lambda 7 years later, he was like, I know you've got a real like sense of your identity as a woman, but do you ever think about class? And I was a bit like, well, you know, we've got like a fridge and car, haven't we? You know, I had no sense to it because we were all the same class in Accy, really. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they were. It's like a spectrum, but we were all on it. Do you know what I mean? And he said, no, you're going to meet some really, really posh people at Lambda, and you know, don't take any shit from them. And when I went down, and suddenly I was like in a year with people from Eton and Harrow and stuff, and I became really chippy then about class and stuff.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Do you think that it just came out, or was that enforced because you were being made to feel different? Because it's funny, isn't it, sometimes, because we all... Years ago, I think sometimes I would have put up a wall straight away. So you go, you can't touch me because I'm from the north.
Yeah.
So before you attack me.
Yeah.
Because I know that you're probably much more intellectual than I am. Yeah. So I'm going to do this to counteract.
To counter it and to be like...
Before you do it.
Well, I see that a lot in people.
Even now I still see that.
Absolutely see it a lot now, and especially in men, actually. I think it's a real kind of thing of like I suppose because I'd like visited Dave at Oxford and stuff, I weren't quite so
green.
No, I was a bit more on it, but I was a pain in the arse.
Why?
Well, because I think I was posturing really. So I started having not really had any sort of sense of like myself as a working class person. Because, this was the 80s as well. And I had all the privileges of being a working class kid in the 80s, in that I got a full grant to go to drama school, full maintenance grant, everything paid for. When I left drama school, I could sign on, get full housing benefit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, so I had those like really key years of dossing around with mates, working in pubs, signing on, setting up a theatre company with this inspirational teacher from Lambda. We'd set up a theatre company for 3 years. Rufus Norris directed his first play there and went on to run that theatre. And those things aren't available to people now. And I took it completely for granted. I never thought that would be taken away, and I'm full of regret that I wasn't part of a bigger fight to save that stuff, because obviously it always happens insidiously, doesn't it? It doesn't happen like, it's not like there's an announcement.
No, there's
tomorrow there'll be no grants,
there's no warning bell, is there?
No, it kind of happens really quietly.
See that?
Seriously.
Yeah, that's gone. That's not there anymore.
Yeah, and suddenly you're like, hang on a minute, that's not available now to my niece and to other people. And
so we'll just shut that door to all you lot.
Completely, and I really feel that now. So I was in a place at a massive privilege, weirdly, as a working class person growing up then, and that was under Thatcher. Do you know what I mean? But it was the dog end of Thatcher before everything started to be taken away properly.
Yeah, of course.
So I think I was posturing a little bit as that, because my brother had been, a working class punk and had gone to Oxford and was like, you just sort that out. You give it a right good old, if anyone takes a piss out of your accent, spit in the face kind of thing. I didn't go that far, but I was a pain. And
did you know it at the time you were a pain, or did you catch yourself on?
I think people told me I was,
did someone pull you aside?
I think so. I think people were just like, as someone who turned out to be a really great friend of mine, who was an Etonian, like in the first week was just like, I don't know whether I can cope with this, like being with this oik, just too much, And it's funny, innit? You get. I saw a play about Andrea Dunbar, who wrote Rita and Bob 2 the other night, a brilliant play called Black Teeth and a Brilliant Smile, and it's like a fictionalised version of her life based on a novel about it.
Yeah.
And it really struck me then that how you learn to pass, how you learn the ways, especially in this profession, because you've got to be able to be in rooms with people of all different classes and all different backgrounds, and to sort of pass, and to be able to speak. And we all know that actor who's like a real pain in the arse, who just doesn't know the rules, and you're just like, learn the rules. And they rail against the kind of like industry and the machine, and they're like, why can't I get anywhere? And you're like, you haven't learned the rules, and there's no way of teaching you those rules. You just got to find it yourself. And it's a weird thing now, that the knocking off of edges of people is I don't think anything that we'd ever say we want to do, but we end up doing. We only sort of revere Andrea Dunbar now. But like then, she was a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
She was just like, she's a nightmare. We can't get her to finish her second play. We can't get her to do this. She's just like pissed all the time. She's like, it's kind of. So it's funny, that experience of moving away and doing that. And I was like out of my mum's control for the first time. So I kind of completely lost control. I was like drunk. I think I was just like pissed for like 3 years, and beyond, I was just like something like, I was a bit of a skiver, there were lessons that I was just like, I don't need to go to that. I never went to like a historic dance. Yeah. What do I need that for? No, I really regret it, I'm like, I'd love to do all that stuff now, and get good at it, because it's all like part of, the person you become, isn't it, But so it's, so it was but it was a really happy and lovely upbringing, actually. And my dad, for, he struggled with depression throughout his life because of the terrible things that had happened to him in his life that he'd had to cope with without any support or help, really, in any sort of formal way.
Was he very open about that? Because I'm just thinking about that different generation, especially of males, who wouldn't you know, and especially a northern male at that, would be putting on a front going, I'm okay, I'm fine, and I'll get through this. Yeah. It is what it is.
He weren't like that. No, it was always very, very hush-hush that my granddad had taken his own life. You know, that was something that was revealed to me very late on in life. It was always very, you know, that was a source of shame still, I think.
Was it shame?
Yeah, there was a bit of like it. That's a very private. I mean, even now when I'm talking about it, I feel a little bit like, I feel a bit tentative about it because it's a family story that's been sort of kept quite quiet for quite a long time. Of
course.
And it's just really important because of the aftermath of it and the way that it affected my dad. But what my dad had was this love of nature. He was a big walker, always a massive walker. So he found great solace in that, in art and music and poetry, but also in daftness. He was like daft as a brush. And my whole childhood was just like, the soundtrack to it was daft songs and hymns and poems that he'd write. And when he died a few years ago, like the number of people who brought postcards that he'd just randomly sent him with funny, like just stupid bad rhymes about him and stuff. And he'd just ring people up just out of the blue because he was thinking about, you're on my mind. You're on my mind. I'm worrying about you. You're all right. He'd send him a little postcard. He was just like, seriously one of the loveliest people.
That sounds so lovely and fun.
He was
fun.
Yeah. And so like the healing, like of that sort of sadness in our family was daftness, you know. And it's like, I mean, I'd ring him up and we'd just talk gobbledygook to each other. My mum used to go mad, you know, and we'd play fight. That was his way of showing affection. We'd be fighting all the time. Someone came to the door once. My mum put a stop to it after that. Someone came to the door. We knew as well when door went because we were proper scrapping in like
you're playing up to it.
Behind front door, yeah. Ran upstairs and someone at the front door was like, is the young lady all right? And I had to come downstairs and be like, yeah, we're just playing fighting. But thank you, it's brilliant that you came and checked. You know? And my mum was like, that's it now. No more of this. And then when he in his latter days he had to go into a home, and actually what was really wonderful about that is that he was never a very physically affectionate person. My dad, he was the kind of person who'd like hug you but he'd sort of push you away at the same time. It was all like fighty. That's how it took me a long time to get that out of my system, you know, that like, you know, knocking 7 bells out somewhere, that isn't the way to tell someone you love them. You're like, oh come on, let's get you up for and I'll give you a duffin. It's like, you know, and latterly when he was in the home, like all his self-consciousness went away because he had dementia,
right?
Which sort of came and went, you know. So it was like, and I could sit with him and like hold his hand and read poetry to him and play like Mozart to him and stuff. And it was like we just kind of like it all fell away really, and it was beautiful. So my brother really, really, really hated him being in that home, and understandably, you know, because it's a horrible thing to have to do.
Well, it's kind of the last place that we want to see someone that we love.
Awful.
But sometimes it's
when they need the
care, and we can't give them that.
No,
and professionals can.
Exactly, and I had to do it for my mum's sake as well. She just couldn't, you know, and. But it was. I actually had a real soft spot for that place because it was just like,
especially when all that was chipped away.
Yeah.
Could be so close to him.
Yeah, completely, and still the daftness right to the end, you know. And on the day he died, when he went into hospital just before he died, you know, he was like he was in a terrible state, and but his eyes were just like shining blue. He had beautiful blue eyes, and the nurse was like, "Doesn't he have beautiful eyes?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was still like communicating with people, and everybody loved him who met him. I mean, you know, he was you know in his 80s when he died, and we couldn't fit everyone in the crematorium. There were people like packed outside. It was like extreme. I mean, all my mates came up from all over the country, you know, because He was special.
How amazing that even right at the end he never lost the daftness.
No, right to the end.
That most important thing was still there.
Completely. Daftness and pride and love, just absolute love. And my mum's the same. My mum, on the other hand, is like absolute. My mum looks like an absolute classic little old lady. I often say, you know, like I can't find her in a sea of other sort of pastel M&S tops and do's. You know, it's like she's like. But she's fierce, and any backbone I have, and any sort of kind of like comes from her, she's absolutely, and someone who would fight to the death for us, and totally engaged. And that's the thing I remember about her most, it astonished me when I went and met other people's parents sometimes, how uninterested they were in young people, or how unengaged. My abiding memory of my mum and dad is in our little living room at Elmfield Street, telly off, you know, when people came round, my mum fagging it. My dad made his own brew and shed at bottom at yard, and so do you want his own brew in a silver tankard? People are sitting drinking it, or a cup of tea, always biscuits, and them both leaning in, wide-eyed, listening to whoever was visiting, my friends, Dave's friends, their own friends, completely locked on to what they had to say.
Engaging.
Yeah. So, and only later did I realise what a rare and beautiful thing that is, you know. It's like...
That's really rare.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's so just wonderful.
I mean, I really feel already you're such an equal mixture of the personalities of your mum and dad.
I think I am, you know, and it's like, because my dad was almost too soft, you know, it was hard for him sometimes because he was such a gentle soul, you know, and my mum, and my grandma as well, because my grandma, her husband left her when my mum was 2, so my mum never knew her dad.
Right.
And you know, I said to her, did he ever miss him, Mum? Did I? I never knew him. Didn't never bothered. Never give him a thought. You know,
Not
she's completely absolutely nothing. You know, no sentimentality at all.
Wow.
And my grandma, was a seamstress. She used to she was a tailoress actually, and she used to make dresses for rich ladies in Ribble Valley, and that's how she made her living, and brought up these 2 girls by herself, and. It was really upright, and and at the end of life she was blind and deaf, still living in a council flat by herself up a full flight of stairs. She'd go into town, people would say to me, I saw your mum downtown. She'd be like, oh God. With a white stick, she'd just cross the road, she'd just put a white stick in front of her and cross that road. Just everyone would screech. She couldn't hear him, couldn't see him, fine. Just trust.
You can't see, you can't hear, it's not there.
No, me way around Accy. They
can see me.
Exactly. Just brilliant, yeah.
Oh, what an interesting... household that you come from.
Completely normal as well. Do you know what I mean? It's just totally
I'm not saying it's abnormal. I'm saying really normal, but really interesting and passionate. I'm getting a lot of passion.
Yeah. They were into stuff, but it was, it were 2 Ronnies, and and
but you can still on the flip side, you can have that, but so many people don't have either.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So lucky. I mean, I really, always.
Did you feel you were lucky then, even when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think so. I think my brother had a slightly different experience, because I think they were a bit harder on him as he was growing up, because it was the 70s and it was a different era. And I think my dad had a big breakdown when my brother was 9, which is a really big age to experience a parent going through that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And he was the same age that his dad had been when he died. So I think that was all tied in with that.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I was 2 and I was really protected from it. So I never... And he'd brought in all the rules, he'd done all the things, he'd I mean, it's hilarious now to think that, he got absolutely bollocks for having a copy of Never Mind the Bollocks, I remember the row about it, my dad going mad about it, And by the time I was 7 years later, his age, I was just left to my own devices.
You probably had one and couldn't give a shit, it's fine.
I know.
Different
completely.
times though, isn't it?
I was just rolling around pissed the whole time. Our neighbourhood hotspot was the Lardy Dars. And it was
What was the Lardy
It was
Dars?
a nightclub in Accrington. Plastic palm trees and fountains. On Thursday nights, it were alternative nights, so they played the Smiths, and stars from Brookie had come and hang out in the cocktail bar. I could get autographs. Met them all down during that time. Met them all. And it sort of overlooked the slums of Accy. It was like something out of Brave New World. It was amazing.
Wow.
And we'd all go, You would all go on that, and you'd try and get in when you were 15,
Yeah, of course, that's the time to go. 14,
and Jackie always
15.
looks a bit younger, and we'd all try and not go in with Jackie because Jackie never got in,
Or
It's
try and hide her. She's in. Go on, she's right, she's grand.
Just running ahead. You go with Jackie, what? Yeah, and then coming home 2 o'clock in the morning, just weeping because some lad I wanted to get off with didn't want to get off with me, and getting into bed with my mum like some pissed 17-year-old.
I bet she loved that.
And I'm like, oh yeah, it's just brilliant, just so tolerant of me, She said recently, 17 were hard. We're hard because my daughter's 17 now. 17 were hard. And I remember recently, my daughter. I was working away and my husband said, she was doing her GCSEs, and my husband rang up and said, Martha started drinking Red Bull, like trying to get a bit of energy to it. And I was like, oh, I'm not having that. And I went a bit mad about it. I was like, no, I don't like that. I'm not having Red Bull. It's really bad for you, full of caffeine and everything. And then as I was saying it, I went, I think I might take my foot off pedal with this, because I was like, pissed 24 hours a day when I work. It's like, yeah, me too. It's like, yeah, I think she's all right.
She'll be fine.
Red Bull might be all right. It's like when I were on Blue Balls and my dad's own brew and Concord from N Shop, you know.
And Thunderbirds.
Oh yeah, Thunderbird, the Thunderbird years.
Thunderbird years were hard. What, you going red or blue? Equally
Terrible. I used to get it off, just round corner from here actually. They used to sell it dead cheap on a road just on Leicester Square. Used to get it and just wander around like Soho drinking that.
We used to try and get a guy who was going into the offie, who was obviously an adult. I go, can you just get 2 bottles for us? Yeah. And they, for everyone that turned you down, there was one
who would do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was still on it when I was down here as a student, you know. I mean, really did I? And I would know Jeffrey Bernard, do you know what I mean? I was just a horrible, pissed, chippy Accrington. Like, yeah,
just like, I was like,
oh, God. You drink if you had my childhood. A brilliant childhood. Yeah.
You don't know.
You know what it is? Should be full ground. Pulls round like paid for my school trips. Do you know what I mean? I was like, it was fine. I had a really nice life.
What was the plan like when you were leaving school? Was it always in your head to do this? Or were there certain things that you thought, or were you lost? Did you go, I don't know what I'm going to do?
I don't know really, because I went on and off acting through my life. So when I was at junior school, I had like a really lovely teacher, Mrs. Mulderrick. You always have one, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, and she used to do English speaking board exams, which were kind of like Lambda exams kind of thing. And she was like, oh, you know, yeah, if you're lucky, exactly. And she was like, well, I think you should do these. So, and you had to do like a poem and a presentation. And I remember you had to talk about something that you liked. And I did mine on Michael Caine. I was just such a weird kid.
Did you?
Because my parents were a bit older. Well, I was like 9. But because my parents were a bit older when they had me, because there was a big gap between me and Dave, I had a bit of a weird sensibility. Like I loved Doris Day and like old musicals and Michael Caine films. And I really fancied Michael Caine when I was like 9, 10, 11. It's weird, you know, in that sort of like big glasses period.
Very good looking man in his day.
Yeah, you were. And when that look came back in the 90s, you know, like the Jarvis look, I was absolutely like in my element. I was like, oh, this is great. It's like, I couldn't quite understand why I had the hots for it so badly, and it was because of that, you know. Yeah, and so she got me doing that, and I think that gave me a little bit of a taste of it, because that weren't something that people did, because it was kind of like elocution, you know, obviously worked a treat. You can tell. But it was about public speaking and confidence, and it was just something really new, and I really loved doing it.
That's really good for kids to get up in front, and you know how some children, say they're 8 or 9, can't hold a conversation with an adult.
No.
And ones that can, just think, I like that confidence. That's going to do you in good stead in years to come, I think.
This is the thing, innit, about art in education and the way that it's been whittled away at. It's like, I mean, you know I'm a like, massive lefty, so you know, everything that I'll say and do is imbued with it. But it's like, I feel like it's no coincidence that a school like Eton ploughs thousands of pounds into the arts, you know, into the music and the theatre, and really, really encourages and nurtures that in its students. And that's not because they're trying to create a whole generation of Eddie Redmaynes or whatever, you know. It's because they know that inherent with that comes a way of speaking and a way of being, confidence in yourself as a person, and your ideas and the way to articulate them, and being in the room and passing. That thing about passing again, you know, being easy company. And you know, Craig, you've worked with them. Those lads who've come through that education, they're irresistible. They're the charming, lovely people. You know, it's like you think, oh, I'm not going to like this person, and they're always absolutely lovely and engaged. And it's because of that, you know. And to me, it's no coincidence that those top private schools are ploughing money into it at the same time as state school kids are being told that the arts are a luxury, an add-on, something that's not for them, that's kind of like a bit of a daft choice if you ever want to make money or make a life. Forget that the cultural industries is the only growing industry in this country at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's the one that is actually burgeoning. You know, it's like, so it's kind of weird that but not so weird, because it feels to me a little bit like a conspiracy that you would say to working class kids, and also to make the art subjects so theoretical. All those kids who went through, who couldn't write an essay to save their lives but were brilliant at drama or playing guitar or whatever, they're suddenly like having to write essays about and failing the GCSE in music or drama or art, and so not able to go on and do it higher education. And we are going to end up with a culture that is entirely run by privately educated people, and the stories that they tell will be entirely from that world if we're not careful.
Well, if we're not careful, because that seems the way it's going.
Yeah.
But I was one of them who, in my GCSEs, when it come to it for drama, and this is how obnoxious I was, I refused. I said, I'm not doing the essay about for drama, because that's not what acting's about. What are you talking? I don't know anything.
Brilliant,
but
even
now,
but
I knew that wasn't what it was about. Yeah. And I only scraped past with a C because my drama teacher fought for me.
Yeah.
With the examiners going, we have to just cap this off and sort this out.
What was your drama teacher called?
He was called Mr. Wilmington.
I bet you've talked about him a few times.
Well, I haven't, because actually my biggest inspiration was my deputy headmaster of the school, who I'm still in touch with to this day, and he listens to this podcast, so you know. It's called Richard Catmore, and he was a massive inspiration to me, because he was the one that kind of told me that you can do this. This is possible.
Yeah.
It's not just a hobby.
No, and that was at O level, was it? Yeah.
And I really believed it, and I just went with tunnel vision.
He saw something in you, and you just were like,
so. Yeah. Well, he must have done. Yeah. Well, he made me certainly believe that I had something within me. Do you know what I mean?
And how many times have you heard that story? It's like one person just going, no, you can do this.
But all it takes is one person,
yeah,
Julie.
It is.
But I worry that sometimes there'd be so many brilliant young artistic people out there and whatever, and they don't have that person, or they don't find that person, or that person isn't available to them. That one person that's anywhere. That kind of worries me.
It really, really worries me. And there's brilliant organisations like Open Door and Arts Emergency who are picking up the pieces of that system. And I love Arts Emergency. Their sort of like little sort of pithy saying that they have is that you can't be what you can't see. And it's like if nobody ever put a trumpet in Miles Davis's hand, he would, how many Miles Davises are there? How many, Craig Parkinsons are there, wandering around just like with this talent. And it's like, and they can't, if you're a writer or if you're a visual artist, that's something you can do in your own bedroom, and you can do it, with very few materials, can't you? It's
and also that's something that you have a sense of control over.
Yes, an agency.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas if you're an actor, if you're a performer of any kind, or a musician, you've got to have an opportunity to do it to someone, with someone, and you've got to have an instrument in your hand if you're a musician, and it's giving kids those opportunities. And I think we've gone through phases where we've really, really encouraged that. And we see, and in the same way as we do with sport, so like 2012 Olympics, it was like all that money had been ploughed into sport in schools in the early 90s. You suddenly saw the results of that. It was suddenly all these working class gold medalists,
I know.
And it's like now, in a few years, that's not going to be the case because it's been cut right back. And I do worry, like, the cultural industry is being this amazing place, and I think that the big cultural institutions are really, really on it about trying to get a diverse workforce. In terms of like gender, ethnicity, and disability as well, and that's brilliant. And I think quotas are great, and that's starting to happen.
And things are going in the right direction there.
Definitely moving.
We're seeing it.
We're definitely seeing it. Definitely seeing it in theatres as well. But class-wise, because it's so difficult to quantify, it's that intersection between those things. So that for a white working class woman like me, who's now obviously living, I'd still absolutely identify as working class. Because otherwise, as soon as you start to be successful, you leave your class behind. How is that ever going to provide any inspiration or anything to look up to for me? So I definitely always identify as working class, but I know that my lifestyle, you know, on the face of it, is now middle class. Yeah, in terms of I'm culturally engaged and I earn a good living and, you know, all those things. But it's like will always have much more privilege than, you know, a gay, black, working class woman from, you know, inner city London. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like it's where all those things intersect, and class is the thing that's just really, really difficult to get hold of because they're the forgotten people, and they can be of any ethnicity and any gender and like be, you know, disabled or not. But if you're from like a forgotten bit, from like schools that have just been left behind, it's like how is anybody ever gonna come from that and make something of themselves and be able to live a creative and artistic life? It's really worrying.
And where's their inspiration?
Yeah.
And I've got to make it clear that we're really not posh bashing here at all, because we're not. I know you know we're not.
No.
But there was a lot of talk of this, and it was on all the papers like 2 years ago, and there was a big sort of hoo-ha, and I thought, all right, well, there's a conversation starting, this is good.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I worry.
Well, behind the scenes, I think it's happening. You know, I think there's a lot of people, you know, because a lot of stuff starts to happen at an academic level. Do you know what I mean? And that starts to feed into policy and stuff. You know, these things take a long time.
No, I know.
You know, the way to quantify class, you know, and the ways we talk about it, you know, and the way that class has suddenly entered our vernacular again, you know, because for a while it just wasn't, you know, because, you know, we have a lot of American culture here and class isn't really a thing there, for them. No, exactly. You know, I mean, they've got very, very poor people, you know, but they don't talk about class in the same way as here. You know, people say, oh, we're obsessed with class in this country. Well, if you're not, that's privilege. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Oh, yeah, we should be obsessed with it. I mean, it's not a bad thing at all.
Because it's talking about, like, availability of choice and opportunity, all those things. And it shouldn't be up to charities and organisations scraping around for funding to try and make them things happen for young people. But it is, you know, it always is. But it is absolutely not about those people, because, as I say, you know, those people are absolutely... They're not in charge of their upbringing and background any more than we are, you know. It's like, that's not the problem, you know.
No.
It's
not about choice.
No. But it is a battle that's still being fought, I think. And
is there anything what you would do? What would you do? I mean, look, that's a fucking big question that might not have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, for me... funding of the arts is absolutely key.
Vital, yeah.
It really is, you know, and in schools and in state schools and from an early age, you know, and I think that I see, because I've got teenage kids myself, and I can see how that's been eroded. Further education, you know, even in, you know, Labour's last office, you know, and education was pretty big for New Labour. It was always about higher education and comprehensive education. It was never about further education, and that got a little bit left behind in that period, you know, and now it's completely struggling, you know. There's a handful of really good FE colleges, but good FE lecturers are struggling to provide, you know, the courses. Accrington and Rosendale College, an absolutely brilliant college that I went to, and tons of us went through there. When I went to Lambda, there were 5 of us from Accrington College there at the same time. I mean, it's unbelievable, it's disproportionate, you know. It's like, from a tiny town in North West, 5 of us, 3 in my year.
Well, there's loads of us from Blackpool Fire College.
Yeah, of course there were, yeah. Blackpool's a big...
David Thewlis, you got John Sim and all that.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely, yeah. And same time, it was kind of those two, you know, and it's like... And that's and now Accrington College drama department is shut. It has no art department. The catering college was always massive. I've just found out that that's shutting. Huge media department that my brother taught at. That's gone. You know, it's going apparently. So all these things, you know. So it's like, wow, that's really frightening and shocking. And it's happened before you can even do anything about it. You know. And it's so funding. And I think that I was thinking about this morning actually, and I was thinking we're so trained to accept our lot as a society. Do you know what I mean? We're so kind of like, we feel like, well, it's just the way things are. You know, there's just not enough money. So some things have to go. And if it's between like feeding people and arts, then of course, you know. And it's like, actually, that's absolute bollocks. You know, we're the 5th biggest economy in the world. Yeah. There are children living in abject poverty in this country. There are children without shoes in 2019. You know, that there are children like just absolutely falling outside the system completely. They're just being left behind because nobody can look after them because everything's being caught. You know, the police is being caught, the NHS is being caught, mental health services being caught, schools being caught, arts are being caught. There's just nothing, you know, and there is enough money. So for me, it's about, like, it's just redistribution. You know, is that there is the money, we just need a new system.
And it shouldn't be accepted.
No, it shouldn't.
Be.
Shouldn't.
Oh, well, that's just our lot. It shouldn't be that.
Yeah, and you hear it all the time. And you're like, no. This doesn't have to be like this. We don't have to live in this way, you know. And we're being told that we have to by people who's interested in to continue this system, you know, because they're benefiting from it, you know. There's a huge amount of, like, incredibly wealthy people in this country and a massive amount of people living under poverty line now.
Yeah.
And it's just redistribution. So for me, it's basic socialism, you know. And you know, I feel like that's actually a possibility at the moment. You know, for the first time in my life, that is something that could happen. You know, and so I feel, in amidst all the despair that everyone talks about all the time, I feel like, you know, actually we're at a point in the world where anything can happen.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes these really terrible times precede times of great hope and change, you know.
Of course. Are you quite a big believer in that? And I mean this in a general sense, that anything can happen?
Yeah.
I think that's quite a positive mindset, Julie.
Well, I think that it's in the interests of the powers that be to make us feel like there is no hope, you know. And it's I'm a big fan of this writer, Rebecca Solnit, and she writes a lot about climate change and stuff and about sort of political activism. And she says it's so much easier to be a beautiful loser. Do you know what I mean? To just be like, well, we tried, but nothing happened, nothing ever changes. You know, it's like, if you have hope, then you don't let it off the hook because there's always something to fight for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the moment, the establishment is properly winning because good people with lots of energy and passion and belief are going, oh, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. The world's going to hell in a handcart. What about all these amazing young people who are taking to the streets, who are, like, bringing London to a standstill to save the planet, you know?
Yeah.
It's like there are so many exciting grassroots movements going on, and sometimes what happens, what comes from them, you won't see the results of that for years, you know. It's like, I read a beautiful story about, like, a tiny little demonstration outside an embassy, and it was like 5 women, and I can't remember where unfortunately, but it was like 5 women, and they kept this demonstration going for years. And then it ended, and they were just like, nothing's ever come of that, do you know? And it was just like 5 years of our life, we just stood outside that embassy, you know, the 5 of us, and, you know, people would laugh at them, and, you know, whatever. But somebody who became incredibly powerful and became a real activist that really changed things in a massive way, drove past this group of women every day and was like, fucking hell, the women are amazing. They're absolutely dogged in the determination to change things. And he always cites them as his inspiration for going on to do amazing things.
Really?
And that's what happens. Do you know what I mean? You don't know the impacts. It's ripples all the time, you know, and it's like, you know, all these young people who are doing these incredible things now, you know, it might be too late to, like, stop, to reverse climate change, but the movements that it's going to start and the way that people are saying, oh, actually, it's completely possible to, like, do peaceful, effective mass protest.
Yeah, of course.
And you can see the way establishment talk about them. Oh, middle-class snowflakes, blah, 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 blah. Anything to put them down. You know, and it's just like, well, we don't care about what you say about us. This is our mission. And it's like, and that fills me with massive hope. You know, and you know, sometimes you've got to hit the bottom of the pool to come back up, you know.
Absolutely.
If Trump hadn't got in, you know, would Me Too have happened? You know, would it, you know, it starts these moves and people be like, hang on a minute, the shit's hit the fan now. We need to organise, we need to get together and make our voices heard collectively. And it starts to happen. And Me Too has changed the world.
Yeah.
It's absolutely changed the world. I mean, you can see it. I mean, you've probably seen it on film sets and on TV sets. The way that women are spoken to and behaved towards now. And it's happened, you know, very gently and organically, but it's just like, new set of rules, you know.
A pal of mine was doing a big American film, started not so long ago, and before anything happened, everybody was there, all cast, all crew, and there was a big talk, a big discussion.
About the way to be.
The way.
Yeah.
Just simple.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to do our job and we're all on level playing field here, from the caterers, everybody, right? This is the way to behave, and this is how we're going to have a nice, smooth shoot.
Yeah.
And
it's brilliant.
We'll have no upsets.
Yeah. And it won't be tolerated.
And it will not be tolerated.
No. It don't matter how powerful you are, don't matter who you are.
Or you think you are.
Yeah.
Just before you think about anything, think about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's not that hard.
And it empowers us all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like, it's like a mate of ours, and you'll know who it is when I tell the story. It was on a TV set, and she said, like, 2 security guards were standing having a fag outside, and she walked past, and one of them went, "Not bad." And this person is quite a feisty woman anyway. She's brilliant and a constant inspiration to me. But I think because of everything that happened, it empowers you to turn around. She was like, "What the fuck did you say?" And then it's like brilliant, because I had this conversation with my daughter, and we both agreed that if we did it, they'd be like, "Talking about the weather." Completely about my but this person knew I was never going to answer. And he went red, and she said, just imagine what it feels like for me as a woman to walk past you and to know that you're assessing me physically, and then to say it within earshot of me. Just have to think about that and what that feels like. I was like, sorry. Brilliant.
Fucking hats
brilliant.
off. How brilliant is that?
So, and so, it's not just like the way it's asking people to behave, it's also giving us the power to be able to call it out.
It has to call it out.
Yeah. And
Not
the
have a
same with diversity.
Yeah.
It was only like a couple of years ago that people were like, yeah, we'd love to like cast more black actors, but we just can't find any good black actors.
Or the roles aren't there.
They're just the roles, we just can't do it. And suddenly you're just like, oh yeah, they all are. Brilliant. You just had to look a little bit harder, did you? And you managed it. It's like,
where have they been hiding?
Yeah. And if you see a play now or a film that doesn't have like a non-white face in it, it's shocking to me. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Where are the people of colour in this film? Where are you like? Where's your diversity? It's like I know now that it's not representing the world that I live in, and it appalls me. And it's like, it's just in your psyche in a way that the first job I did after leaving Corrie was a theatre piece at the Exchange, and we were all white in it. Didn't even cross my mind. That was completely normal. That was 5 years ago.
Only 5 years?
Yeah. And now, if I went to see a play at the Exchange and there were no black or any actors of colour in it, I'd be absolutely... Well, it would never happen.
But it wouldn't happen. And also, it'd be really odd because it doesn't...
It'd just be weird.
Well, it doesn't represent our world and our life.
In any way. And you'd just be like, why are you giving me this... Why are you giving me this story that doesn't have anything to say about the world? I don't understand. Why are you not representing it? I know, completely. And that has happened because of people setting quotas and saying, we're not going to do it, we're going to have 50-50, And the Exchange has been amazing. Their quotas, like, I think the figures were 52% women on stage over the whole year, last year. 52% women.
Yeah.
You could do it.
Well, I've noticed their programme.
It's really impressive.
Yeah, very
and now
impressive.
it's even more exciting now. It's
very exciting from
because
you
everyone
the other
were
day.
worried, because Sarah's done such a brilliant job there. It's like, who's going to take over from Sarah? And it's like, just fantastic.
Yeah.
So, they're going to carry on the good work.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's great.
Now, we don't really discuss jobs with actors, because I do find it a bit, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it seems like we're part of the job.
Yeah.
And we're just having a conversation. But I do want to talk about the safety in leaving such an establishment like Coronation Street for you to go, right. And because how many years were you there?
16.
Fucking hell, I didn't know it was that long.
I know, it's bonkers, isn't it? 16.
So I don't think I've ever met anybody that's
Who's
done
been
the
in
same
so long.
part.
No.
You've been in the same role for 16 years.
Yeah, and then left. Yeah, because, I obviously, lots of people in Corrie have been there for that long. I don't think anyone... I don't know.
Did it ever become a job?
Oh, completely. Oh, completely became a job.
How did...
I loved it. I was really happy
You
there.
don't strike me as the type of person that would settle to do something if it became a job.
Oh, well...
But obviously, I don't know you.
I completely did. I didn't even think of myself as an actor. I genuinely didn't think about it. I'd go and see... It was lovely. I mean, the happiest years of my life. Do you know, it's like... I'd go and watch a play.
Yeah.
And I'd literally be like, oh, how have they done that? I lost any sense of what it was like to go to like a read-through at the beginning of a job and like stumble through it, and then to do what you ended up seeing on stage. I had no ambition. I was completely like, I loved the freedom it gave me to be with anyone, because you know what it's like, Craig. It's like, I bet you don't have this as much as I do, but like sometimes when I'm talking to people, I feel like I've got an agenda. I feel like if they're in a position where they could give me a job, I'm always really self-conscious that they think I'm talking to them because they could give me a job. Do you know what I mean? I always feel...
I think loads of people feel like that.
I just always feel really awkward and just like...
I don't want to feel like dirty.
And I'm just like, oh, no, I'd talk to anyone like that. I really would, but it suddenly makes me feel a bit like, ooh, dirty. And when I was in that, I was like, well, nothing you can give me. I mean, Corrie, I will be for the rest of my life. So, you know, I could talk to anybody and feel like... It's the same when I like got together with my husband. I was suddenly like, oh, I can talk to anyone now and not be thinking, oh, I think they think I fancy him. Oh, they think I'm trying to get off with him.
But that's when we step out of ourselves and look back at the reflection, and that's, you know. But I think everybody does that.
Does it? Do they? It's like a thing. It's like,
if we're honest, we do.
Yeah.
Because that's only we all kind of care about what people think about us.
And the thought that someone would think that you were being nice or friendly because you were trying to get something out of them.
Yeah, I think you'd be pretty arrogant if you didn't think that at some point.
Oh, well, that's good to know. It's good to know, because I just like... It was really wonderful to be free of that for 16 years. And I didn't go into it intending to be in it forever. I did intend to be in it more than 3 months, which is what I was initially. So I was like, oh no, I've got bigger plans for this character than that. And
3 months turned into 16 years, Julie.
Yeah. And then I thought like, oh, maybe a few years. And then I lost all ambition. Was just like, this is absolutely brilliant. I love it. I met my husband on it. I had my kids doing it. It's such a lovely place to work. Anyone will tell you that. Really ace people, the cast and crew. And it's like, and the workload's hard. But I was never really like... I was never like a Steve MacDonald or a Leanne, you know, who were just constantly story. Yeah. I was like in and out a bit. You know, I'd have like long periods where I weren't doing very much, and that suited family life.
Yeah, of course.
Living in Manchester. So I was dead happy. And people would come in on the first day and I'd be like, oh, you know, I'm Julie. They'll carry me out of here in a box. I'll be here on the 70th anniversary, live episode, whatever. And then what happened was... I did a play. And I would never have even done that. I mean, I had no interest in doing anything else. I thought if I take time off, took a couple of months off and went travelling. I remortgaged the house and went travelling with our little girl when she was 3 and travelled the world and stuff. And I thought, that's what I'd do. If I ever take any time off, it'd be to be with my family, not to be in a play. I'm not bothered. And then, so... Near where I grew up, Sophie Lancaster, a young girl who's identified as a goth, was murdered really brutally with her boyfriend in a party. It's a horrible thing that happened in the... I can't remember the year it was now, 2007, I think, maybe. And Simon Armitage, the poet, wrote this beautiful, beautiful radio piece where he wrote like a cycle of poems that were as if spoken by Sophie, performed by Rachel Austin, an actor. And it was interspersed by interviews with Sylvia, her mum, who'd set up a foundation in Sophie's memory to help combat hate crime against alternative subcultures. Yeah. And to keep Sophie's memory alive and to do educational stuff in schools, because there's huge amounts of hate crimes against punks and goths and stuff, more than you'd ever imagine. It's just unreal, you know, the things that people decide to take against, you know, out of fear or
there'll always be those people.
Won't there? It's just awful.
There always have been, and there always will be.
The figures are really shocking, you know, because you're just like, wow, you're attacking someone because like they've got like dreads or like a mohican. It's like, wow. But you know, disabled people get attacked physically in the street all the time, so nothing should surprise us, should it? You know. So she set up this charity, and so she told the story of Sophie's life. She was interviewed from birth to death, really, including, you know, her being in hospital in critical condition to the moment that they took her off the machines and she died. So these poems, beautiful poems, were interspersed, and it was a Radio 4 drama in the afternoon. And it was one of those classic Radio 4 dramas where, you know, truck drivers were pulling over and stuff. It was really, really harrowing, beautiful, and they decided to make a theatre piece out of it. And I knew Sylvie a little bit. I'd got a little bit involved in the campaign just from bumping into a campaigns manager at things and been given a Sophie wristband and stuff. And I'd got to know Sylvia, and me and my husband had set up a bit of a writing competition in Sophie's memory, and so she asked me to play her in it, which was like the biggest honour possible.
Yeah.
And so I was saying her words verbatim, basically, that she said in the radio programme.
Right.
And so that's something I couldn't turn down. And I was terrified of it. And Simon didn't really know about verbatim theatre, and he was quite sort of like, I don't know, he was quite sceptical about how it would work, but we ended up doing it at the Royal Exchange in the studio.
Did you feel that because you had a responsibility?
Massive responsibility, massive responsibility, and it was like, and it's a, you know, it's quite something. The words that she says in that, you know, we made a film of it subsequently as well, and called Black Roses, and it was an amazing thing to be part of. And it took me a long... I couldn't remember how to be in a rehearsal room. So, like, because on Coronation you don't really get much direction. The directors are great, but they're very much there to sort of keep house style. And now and again, they might give you a note, but it's quite unusual.
I'm sure it's like the time restraints and the page count that you've got to do is crazy. And it's
so
you know, with no disrespect at all, it's a fucking machine.
Completely. It's a more and more so, do you know? I mean, you literally go in, you block it, you do a line run, you block it, do a camera rehearsal, then you shoot it. And if you do it more than twice, you've really fucked it up. And it's like, this is what people don't realise about sort of acting. The best training you can possibly get. Hell, you never get any like music to like ramp up the emotion. You never get any nice lighting or anything. It's just like absolutely raw. What you see is what you get. You know, it's like properly sorts out, you know, the big guns from the little ones. And it's a style as well that's quite hard to get right.
Oh, I can imagine.
People come in and think, I'll play against the style and I'll do a really like low key performance.
And they're the ones that ping out.
Again, you're just like, that just disappears on screen. And then there's people who do like, I want to do my Corey accent, and that's too much, and takes a bit of settling in. And so you know, it's quite full on. But the directors like leave you to your own devices, and you learn very early on. Just get on with it and make choices and be bold, you know, because nobody. So being directed again, I really thought I was fucking it up. You know, my entire makeup was like, if a director approaches you and goes like, you're like, oh, sorry. So it's constantly like, sorry. And they're like, no, it's fine. And I remember apologising to assistant director, going like, I'm really sorry. And he was like, what about? And I said, it's supposed to be really boring for you. And he went, what do you mean? I said, I keep doing the same bit over and over again. Like, rehearsing. He was like, Julie, that's what we do. We're theatre people, that's what we do with rehearsal. And I was like, oh yeah. Because I've done plays before, but I'd just completely gone.
It's almost like you had to retrain your mind.
Totally. I was like, oh God, you're like tensing up as like director came to give me a note, because I was just like, what? Yeah. I still have a little bit in me now, and the pace of doing telly now. I'm just like, oh God, this is taking so long. It's quite hard for me for how long things take in telly, you know, after just being like, bish, bash, bosh, three cameras, bang, out, you know, even like the massive storylines and stuff, you know, just like death scene, you know, like everyone talks about in Coronation, like once, we only did it once. I mean, we didn't even rehearse it because it was too upsetting for everybody, and we were just like, let's just do it. And like, luckily, you know, everything was in the right place and we didn't have to go again. So so I did that, and as I was doing that play, you know, always when you're talking about acting, you've got to be really careful, because you always sound like a wanker, don't you? But
that's why I don't talk about jobs
I know. It's really horrible, isn't it? You're just like, but I was a bit like, I hope, oh God, I can feel something, you know, the way I always put it. I've said this a few too many times, and when it's in print, it really does sound wanky. Sounds better when you hear me say it with my accent. But it's like something that I actually thought was dead was actually just asleep, and it was like waking up, and I was like, no, I don't want it. I don't want ambition and to be. I don't want it.
Don't want that inspiration back in my life.
No,
thank
I
you.
don't want it. No. I don't want it. I don't want to feel like that.
Perfectly
this is what
happy where I am.
Yeah. Telling that story, you know, that one person's story. I'm really happy with that, and it's like. And, you know, I can fool myself that I'm still changing world with Hayley, you know, even though the trans storyline was like 16 years previous, do you know what I mean? Yeah, change the world with that, and doing it was an amazing experience, and really, really grounding as well, because what happened is constantly people would be like, oh God, that must have been really hardcore doing that every night, like playing Sylvia and saying those words and like, you know, talking about holding your dying child in your arms and all that. And what I realised very, very quickly is that every night when we came off stage, me and Rachel, Sylvia, the real Sylvia, was in the bar selling wristbands and merchandise and like talking to people about the foundation, about the work they were doing and getting on with life and making something really good happen out of like possibly the worst situation that anybody could ever imagine. And I was always like, how much of a wanker would I be to like come off stage after playing Sylvia and just be like, I'm absolutely drained. That's really taking it out of me.
Oh, so that's cost me tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And when I see that in actors, and you know, each to their own, you know, some people might have to do, I don't know. But when I see actors in curtain calls who were playing the part of someone who've given themselves, I'm just like, oh, fuck off, come on, don't do that.
Doing that.
It just makes me want to like not clap it. Yeah.
You've ruined everything.
When I saw Angels in America, they were all like, I thought, oh God, Andrew Garfield proper put himself through something over 9 hours there. And he was smiling and gracious in curtain call, and I was like, yes, thank you. You know, that's like what I want to say.
Yeah.
So I've carried that on, you know, so whatever parts, and you know, whatever jobs I do, they like putting me through the mill, do you know what I mean? They like to see me crying and upset about stuff. So once you've done it, you know, they're like, oh yeah, we'll get ready for that. And people ask that question all the time, you know, was it hard for you playing like a rape survivor? Was it hard for you playing someone with cancer? And I'm just like, there's people really going through it. So I feel a responsibility. I really feel that, and I feel the weight of that massively because, you know, you're telling their story and making it public, and you don't want to like take that lightly or fuck that up. It means a lot to people. But at the same time, you can't talk about how hard it was to do it.
Tell you what, it's much harder for them.
Exactly. So it was a real proper good lesson, that, and really great. And that was the thing that made me go. And so I sat on it for a few months. I was like, I thought, I'm not going to really act quickly on this, and I read The Artist's Way that I'm sure people have talked about on your podcast before. It's like,
only one person. Yeah.
There's more of us than Nick. I'm really, really like, I'm always really embarrassed to talk about it because, like, for listeners who don't know about it, it's like a really hawky American book, like written in the 80s, and it's like pre-internet, you know. And it's like, and it's a 12-step program basically. It borrows that, and it's for block creatives. And I did it when I started Corrie. I did it then, and it really, really affected me massively. And it's like literally gives you a little task to do. So you have to go on like an artist date every week. So you have to do something on your own, like go to a gallery or do something for yourself to feed your creativity. It's like filling you well, she says. So in dry periods, you've got something to draw on, you know, and it's like, and creativity feeds creativity is the basic premise of it. So I'm saving you from reading it. And you have to write like 3 pages like longhand every morning of like just without thinking. And it's really massive. It's a massively helpful. So when I was doing Black Roses, I was like, right, I'm going to do it again, and I did the whole 12-week thing again, and it properly, you know, and the answers came to it in these like morning scrollings. Half of the time you're just like, why the hell am I doing this? You know, I can't be arsed. It came really clear that I should move on and do something else, and it gave me the last bit of bollocks I needed to do that,
and the support.
And to just go, I need to lead a properly creative life again, which isn't to say that it isn't creative on Corrie, but it is a job, like you say, and it is.
Or it certainly turns into one after 16 years.
Yeah, and also, you know, the storylines that make the big splashes are only every few years. You know, it's not like you're living in this constant sort of like, you know, state of, you know, my storyline at the beginning. I was the first trans character in a soap, and it did make a big impact, and it did change things, and we got mentioned in Parliament, and, you know, it definitely helps having a character that people associated with and likes, and a relationship that they got behind, being at the centre of that conversation back then. And actually, I ended up leaving just as that would have been a real anachronism for me to be still in it, because the whole conversation.
Well, I was going to touch on that. Imagine if we moved, you know, 16 years now to the future.
Never played it.
You would never have played it, would you?
And there was a conversation about it then. You know, trans people were cross that I were doing it then.
Oh, were they even then?
Oh, yeah. There was an organisation that I became patron of, Press for Change, who you know, made a very, very public pronouncement that it should have been a trans actress playing that part. But I felt real. I was only 27. And I was like, and it was the first big job I'd done. I'd done bits of telly, but mainly I'd done fringe theatre since I'd left Lambda. You know, I weren't, you know, but I had a real, very, very strong sense that it would have been unbearable pressure for a trans actor to play that part at that time. I thought the way that the press spoke about trans people then and the way that our culture treated them, unfortunately we're going a bit back to that at the moment, it feels to me. It's like, but it would have been really, really tough. So I just made it really clear that I would take it really seriously and that I weren't in it for a laugh.
No.
Because the character was supposed to be a bit of a joke in first instance, and that, you know, I would represent them as best I could, and that, you know, I was an ally. You know, and they believed me, and in the interviews I did, that sort of bore out. And the beautiful story about that is that somebody started helping me with research. Someone who wrote to the Radio Times, this shy computer programmer from Aberdeen, wrote to Radio Times and said, I know there's been all this fuss about Hayley, but I really, I'm trans and I live a secret life, and I really, I completely see myself in this character, and it's really helped me. So Corrie got hold of her and asked her to do a bit of unofficial research. We became friends. She eventually moved to Manchester. She auditioned for drama school, went through 3 years at Manchester Met without anyone knowing she was trans.
No.
Got her training, then scrambled around in the wilderness trying to get work for years, like quite unhappy living in Manchester.
Yeah.
And then on her 50th birthday, just as I was leaving Corrie, and literally just after I'd left Corrie, she told all her friends on her 50th birthday that she was trans. And they were just like... And then she told her agent, her acting agent. She got, the next week, an audition to play the head teacher in Hollyoaks. And she's now, like, the first transgender person to play a transgender role in a soap.
No way!
And now she's at the Soap Awards, like, and at Pride, like, just, like, leading it all. And I'm just like, there you go. It's beautiful.
That is a beautiful
just
gorgeous. That's fantastic.
Oh, it's just wonderful. And as soon as she came out, her life just changed, you know, and it just for the better. And she's, like, a huge sports person for all those issues. And it was just the right time for me just to step away from it and just go... That's done now.
Yeah.
It's like, it would have been an anachronism. It's like, so it was just perfect timing. And it was scary, but I didn't have any expectations. I was like, I'll just see what happens. I'll just see what happens. And
what else can you do?
Yeah, and just hope for the best and get bits and bobs and whatever. And the first good choice I made was not to do Panto, but to do a Simon Stevens play at the Exchange, which I was really lucky to get.
No disrespect to Panto, but there
No.
shouldn't even be a choice there.
No,
Simon Stevens plays on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, I don't want anyone to think I'm being snobby
No,
about
I
it,
know
because
you're
I'm
not.
ready to sign up to it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a good laugh.
Yeah.
You earn a bit of money that can, like, see you through some, like, more interesting work later in the year, whatever.
And fucking hard work.
Really hard work, but it is the path that people expect you to take.
Yes, of course.
So by subverting that slightly, that really helped. You know, so people were like, oh, she's doing a Simon Stevens play. And it was, so that was kind of, that helps. And then I got Russell T Davies's series. I was really, really lucky to get that. Did a Cucumber, and that took me on a bit of a Channel 4 kind of.
Yeah.
So I got a reputation for doing more interesting stuff. And I did Black Roses again, and then we did a film of that, and then things started to follow after that. And so I was dead lucky, because I could have been completely, because after 16 years, I mean, and it still is, and it'll be, I've always said it'll be me obituary picture, you know, it'll be me and me red anorak, you know, and me pineapple juice in my office. There's no way anything I'll do will ever take over from that, you know, and I've had to get used to that, you know. It's like, you go through a little period of sort of like being a bit like, come on, it's been 2 years now, I've done all these jobs, you know, and it's
Some
like...
reference in that.
Yeah. But now I just like, I have to accept it. In fact, I'm doing the A word at the moment, and one of the makeup girls is called Hayley, and one of the other makeup girls called her the other day, and I went, yeah. So used to it, calling. She was like, I wasn't talking to you. I can't believe you think that was it. I was like, I'm that used to it. It's like completely like, it's my other name, you know. I'm thrilled if anyone thinks to call me Julie. No, it's a funny life, you know. It's like, I always think, there's not many people who have this, who will always be that character, and whereas you're really proud of it, and it'll probably always be the thing I'm proudest of. It's like, it is a weird thing, you know. And then sometimes I think about cast of Friends, and I think, God, me times 10 zillion what they have. Because it's still being shown.
Everywhere. Around the world.
There's nowhere you can go where you wouldn't be, it's a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're associated with something like that forever.
It's great that you jumped off, because look at everything else, what's happening.
Yeah, but I still get, totally still get asked every day by someone if I'm still doing my acting.
Yeah,
it's like,
of course.
And it does kill me.
Because
I'm not without ego. It just...
Like, different audiences, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, so at my local Tesco, it's like, you're still doing your acting. Someone said to me, do you do theatre mainly now? Have you given up on telly? And I'm like, no, I'm filming something at the moment, actually. It's really, I get really defensive. I've got to find a way not to be an arsehole about it, because I still am a bit like, here's my CV. I just sometimes rattle off things. I'm like, stop being a twat. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. This is just your pride.
Julie, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm so thrilled that we actually got...
I know, amazing.
We made it work, and it wasn't just like a quick 5 minutes outside a pub in Edinburgh.
No, it's like we've been talking about it since then, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I know we've been trying, but it's always the way with this.
It's brilliant.
Bore everybody to tears. It's always about making dates work with this, but
Well, it is. And then what's brilliant is that my niece, since I last saw you, my niece got ovarian cancer, survived it. It's been horrific. Just as she graduated from Lambda, because she's like one of them posh families now that go to the same drama school. Used to be a Lambda family, and she's now taking a one-woman show about her experience to Edinburgh this year with it. And it's like, I just feel again, it's like come full circle. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be an audience watching her one-woman show this year. Like last year, she was just like a Lambda graduate wondering what were happening next, and she's written this beautiful show about survival and love and loss and Louis Theroux, and it's called Madame Overy, and it's like, it's brilliant, isn't it? This world we're in and the connections between everyone, it's she's just beautiful.
Making her own choice there.
Yeah.
She's got down, she's creating something for herself.
And it's made her right, and she's a brilliant writer.
Well, there we go, she's opened the door now, hasn't she?
Exactly. That agency that you get, like I say, if only. I had that time.
Julie, I can't thank you enough. Did you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed it, thank you.
Brilliant.
I really
Thanks.
did. It's been lovely. Thank you. I didn't go on too much, did I?
It's brilliant.
I always feel like, I don't know. It's like, have you done one? Does anyone ever interview you?
No, I've never done one.
Well, why don't I do you sometime?
No, I've only let one person say that they'd interview me.
Who's that?
Can't tell you. I'll tell you off the mic.
Okay.
And another episode is done. What did I tell you? Is she brilliant? She's just fantastic. So a massive thank you to Julie for giving up her time. And while we're talking about people giving time up, if you're in... Hey, hope you're all right. Just a man on a mobility scooter just going past with a lovely bunch of flowers. If you're in Edinburgh in August, so what Julie spoke about at the end... Rosa Hesmondhalgh has got a show there. It's called Madame Overy, and it's on, I think, at 12:10 every day at the Pleasance Dome. So make sure you go and check that out. And also, while we're speaking of things to check out, past Two Shot Podcast guest, the fantastic Amy Booth Steele, has her show there called Honest Amy. It's directed by the wonderful Kathy Burke and stars Amy. And it's just her and her ukulele telling her stories, singing her songs. She's at the Pleasance for the whole of Edinburgh, so do go and check her out. And when you see her, tell her... I swallowed a fly them. I really did. It's by the canal. When you see... Griff's laughing. When you see Amy, give her a big hug from myself and Griff. Look, we're on all the social media platforms. Do send us a message. If you're on the charts, the Apple thing, what's it called, Griff? The Apple Doodah? Okay. Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review if you like it. If you don't bother. That's no good to man the beast. But a massive thank you to you for subscribing and downloading. And we're on Patreon. We don't have any sponsors. We do this by ourselves. Your help is much, much appreciated. So go to patreon.com/the Two Shot Podcast and check it out and see what you can do to help. If you can't help, then no bother. It's still going to be free and we'll still keep doing this. I think that's it. Is that it? That's it. Look, go and have a wonderful day. Carry on doing what you're doing. And, should we see you next week? It's episode 90. The countdown has begun to episode 100. So, until next week, take care of yourself. I've been Craig Parkinson. He's been producer Griff. And this has been the Two Shot Podcast by a Canal. Take it easy.
The Two Shot Podcast is presented by me, Craig Parkinson, recorded and produced by Thomas Griffin for Splicing Block. Our brilliant music is courtesy of Then Thickens. Cheers.